Okay, so I'm back. This is skipping frames. Let's go ahead and put this back at play every frame. But the reason I did that is so we could actually see the playback speed, because this is a little rough. And this isn't what it really looks like. What it actually will look like is this. And actually, that's what I need it. So I'm going to go ahead and let it skip some frames every now and then and mess up. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to start. So how we're going to do this is actually a little bit different than how we did it in class. So right now we have this as a volume deformer, and we know that that means that this volume will start emitting particles. We're just going to make this volume very similar to the shape and size of our hot coal. So if I hit F, we can get out here and see it a little bit better. And I'm just going to do that by resizing it. I'm just going to scale it. Move it down. So something like that. And now when we start playing, you'll start seeing that it feels like the hot coal is emitting these particles. Now, the problem is it's emitting them all out and about. Like it's just sending them in all directions. If we scroll down here to volume speed attributes, you can see we can actually change this to say along axis. Right now it's going away from the center at 1, but let's just go ahead and do it along an axis and change this, or maybe stick this to like 3, along axis at 3. And now if we go back and play this, you'll see that it kind of spits it upward in one axis, roughly. It's not perfectly, but roughly in one axis. And if we go up here to direction, the reason it's spitting it in that axis is because I believe it's because we chose that axis. If we choose this axis, well, apparently I'm wrong. Apparently it will do it in that direction anyway. That means if you need it in a different direction, you have to rotate this emitter to, if you need it to spit them out sideways, then turn it sideways. But we don't. We needed them spitting them up like that, and that's what we're going to keep it doing. Okay, so that kind of gives us a better emission to look like it's emitting from this object, not just a single point on that object. And our radius scale, now because of this, I'm going to change it just a little bit. I still want it to get bigger at the top, or bigger at the end. So I'm still going to have something like this, and we'll see how that's coming out. Okay, yeah, you're screwing up. I get it. Let's do play every frame again, just so my computer won't be a jerk. Okay, now spin them out like that. That's actually the right shape, but I think that individually they're too small. So to make these bigger, I'm just going to scale them up until it starts feeling like smoke. So that feels more like smoke coming off an object to me now. Again, if this still isn't working for you, like if it's emitting too much from the bottom or something, you can adjust this shape. So yeah, I'm liking that. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of keep that. Now we're going to start working a little bit more with shape later with the fields, but for now we will. Yeah. So for now that's feeling pretty good. Let's go ahead and work with the color of this just to get that looking right. We have the rough shape of the individuals. And we're going to go to shading. Okay, of course we want it to be clouds. We want to start working with the opacity and making it become opaque as it dies. That's a little too quickly, so I'll adjust it like that. And I'm going to set this to normalized age. And so now, although that looks pretty good, it feels like it's dying a little early. Not early, I'm sorry. It feels like it needs to... There we go. Yeah, that's all right. I wish it would go opaque earlier. Maybe I should do age. So this is what I'm talking about. You have to just kind of mess with it and make it look like you want it to look. Um, like normalized age, I guess. And you can start the whole thing more opaque if you need to do something like that. I think what I'm not liking right now is these little individual balls up here. So we can work with that if we want to by just changing the sorry, the size of the max radius here, making it more like that. And to me, that maybe feels a little better. Yeah, I think after we get some sort of field on that, that's going to feel good. And the last thing, of course, we're going to change our color. And right now it goes from white to blue. I'm going to change that blue to black, or whatever you want to do. You can do like a really dark blue smoke or something like that if that feels more like your speed. I'm just going to go ahead and stick with black for right now. And I want to start it off a little bit gray. And of course, I'm going to set this to normalized age, so it feels a little bit more like that. And of course, not of course, but we talked about this as well, of like adding just a little bit of color random in there to make it feel a little bit not perfect all the time. We could actually do that with opacity random as well if you want to add a little bit more opacity. Now, I'm doing all this in the viewport and getting a rough idea in the viewport, and that's a bad idea. The first thing I need to do now is just render this and say, yeah, that's not working. Okay, so how do we make this work a little bit more? To me, it's this hardness around the edges, and it's a little thick. So I think that means I turned up this number too high. Go back down to 3. That's too low, so maybe let's set it about 0.5. See how that feels. 6. 6 feels right to me. Maybe go just a touch more and go 0.65. Yeah, let's leave it about that. Okay, and I'm gonna shift all this down just a little bit because I don't ever really want it. That's actually the wrong thing. My bad. I want the opacity to be a little lower overall. Like there are just times where I don't feel like smoke should ever be that opaque or that you know, yeah, opaque is the right word. So we'll get something like that. Okay, and overall that's feeling pretty decent to me for this smoke. And so the last thing we're going to do is we're going to throw a field on here. And of course, we've tried different fields. I'm just going to do an air field, and you have to select the particles first. Field, air. Okay, and then you can move this air field wherever you want to. Now, something to notice. Let's go to shaded mode here. When I select this air field, you'll see that the particles turn purple. The reason for that is because that shows that that's the particles that this airfield will affect. And right now it's really not affecting them. Oh, no, my bad. It is completely affecting them. It's blowing them upward, which we don't want. We actually want them to blow in this case I'm doing in Z. So I'll do like 1 in Z. Let's see how that looks. There we go. And I'm going to play that back in real time too, just so I can see how that's looking. It will play back faster. Oh, maybe not. And that's feeling pretty good and smoky to me. And you can see some of the errors I'm getting there. I'll pause that and hit render. That's feeling pretty good. I would still like it to kind of get more in invisible earlier, so I may play with some of that. I gotta do that by maybe adjusting this to age instead of normalized age and just seeing what that looks like. I don't know. I don't. I guess we could also turn the interpolation to smooth. No, that's not really going to help too much. Linear is fine. Radius. What's radius look like? It's not bad because that's actually hooked to the size of the object. We can adjust it up a little bit. Overall, I think normalized age was probably our best. And I'll go down here. And honestly, what we need to do is we need to kind of work a little bit with getting that the outside edges softer. And to do that, we would have to do a per particle opacity and make the edges of some of these particles opaque. But for now, we're actually all right. This is looking pretty good. It's a little bit of a denser smoke than I would have liked, but it's looking pretty good. So we'll stick with that. All right, so that's kind of that's our piece, and we can render from there. I'm going to go ahead and save this, and I may also render that out and place it somewhere for you if you want to see it. All right, so let's just jump straight into the next thing. Let me go ahead and pause this video and save it and get a file ready. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to kind of talk about particles in ways that are less effects and more of mesh replacements, I guess. So we're going to create, back in our mParticles menu, we're just going to, I've modeled a little bowl. It's very simple, very basic bowl. And then I can go to mParticles, create mParticles, and we're just going to create an emitter. And we're going to place this emitter somewhere up here. Okay. Now this thing's just going to start emitting particles into space like the emitter has a tendency to do. Okay, so we're going to actually, first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab this emitter and look at the emitter, and we're going to change this to a directional. No, we're not. We're going to go ahead and leave this as Omni. Okay, now the reason we're going to do this is like, oh, Omni, it's just going to spit them out all weird and random like that, right? Well, the reason it's spitting them out all weird and random is because we don't have any physics being applied to this. Now, physics exists in this world. We have the nucleus 1 node, and physics exists, but for some reason it's not affecting this object. Now, the reason it's not affecting this object is because when we created it, we actually told it not to. You may have not, you didn't mean to, but it's in there. And I have to find that real quick. Sorry, this is under the, if you look under the in particle shape 1 node, it's actually under here. And it's under dynamic properties. If we click on dynamic properties, we'll see ignore solver gravity. So if we start playing this and we see that it's creating, okay, I'll play every frame. Sorry, there's a lot of switching back and forth between this. So it's playing every frame and it's having to stop for a second. But you realize if we just click ignore solver gravity, that all spits them all out and they just start falling. Okay, so that's kind of cool, right? So I wanted to kind of push them a little bit forward in X, because what we're going to do is we're going to fill up this bowl with these particles. Local force, we're going to set that, or set the X of local force to maybe, what's 10 look like? Oh wow, I done gone and broke it. Let's see.